Okay, today we're going to talk about how to represent functions or different representations of functions. And in this particular video, we're going to talk mostly about the equation. But our essential question is going to be, how can you represent a function in different ways? So the key idea being that a function can be written as an equation. A function rule, they say rule most of the time. The rule is an equation. So if it asks you to find the function rule, they're asking you to find an equation. And it would be an equation that describes the relationship between the input, the independent variable, and the output, the dependent variable. And so I just want you to know that usually in an equation, not usually, always, the input is represented by x and the output is represented by y. On the coordinate plane, the input is always the x-axis and the output is always the y-axis. And when you are doing this, these are words that you should know. You've heard them all before, but just as a review, if you see the word is, it means equals. If you see the word of, it means multiply. If you see the word product, it also means multiply. Quotient means divide. Sum means add. Difference means subtract. And when you see this key little word here, than, like less than or greater than, that means that you need to switch the order of the two things you're talking about. Okay, so here's an example. Write the function rule for. The output is 5 less than the input. So remember we said output is represented by the letter Y. Input is represented by the letter X. So we would have Y is means equals, 5 less than. So before I write my 5 down, I'm going to see here it says less than. And remember that word than means we have to switch the order of the thing in front of it and the thing behind it. So instead of putting 5 minus x, we're going to put x minus 5. Just like that. So that should be your function rule. Remember, rule means an equation. B says, write a function rule for the output, remember that's y, is the square of the input, and that one's x. So, and we also see right here the word is, which means equals. So, and of we said means times, but in this case it says the square of. So square of means, yes, you're going to multiply, but you're going to multiply the input by itself 2 times. So we have y is the square of x, well, the input x. So we put just like this, x little 2. Or you could say y equals x times x. Either way, but this is the standard way to do it right here. And this is what it means. All right, the other thing that we often do when we have functions is we want to evaluate the function. And this will say that you want to say, okay, if I have this equation, this function rule, what would be the value of y? What would be the output if x has 3 as the input? So it's kind of like a little machine back here when we looked at this here. What goes in does our little thing and something comes out. On this one, we're putting in the number 3 to the equation. So we say y equals 2 times 3 plus 5. And if we put that 3 into this function, what will be our output? We just multiply 2 times 3 and get 6, plus 5 is 11. All right, so you could pause the video right now and try the next 4 problems here. And you can come back and we'll check your answers. Okay, so for number 1, you should have gotten y equals 1/4 x. For number 2, we should put 5 in there. So we have y equals 4 times 5 minus 1. So y equals 19. For number 3, y equals 10 times 5. So y equals 50. And for number 4, you have y equals 7 minus 3 times 5. 3 times 5 is 15, so y equals negative 8.